Tonight, major developments in two West Coast murder cases getting national attention. That includes a guilty verdict for the so-called Doomsday Mom, giving a sense of closure to the victim's family.
Today's a good day. We won.
We'll be on our way through our life, and she'll be rotting in prison.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. We begin tonight with the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell, the mother with doomsday religious beliefs who had already been convicted of killing her two children. An Arizona jury deliberated for a total of 3 hours before returning another guilty verdict late today in her husband's murder.
As to the crime of count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder occurring on or about July 11, 2019, guilty.
Late today, the jury in a Phoenix courtroom delivered that guilty verdict. Lori Vallow Daybell was convicted of conspiring to kill her estranged husband, Charles Vallow, back in 2019. Prosecutors said she wanted to get out of the marriage and collect money from his life insurance policy. Vallow Daybell represented herself in this case. She didn't have much to say in court today as the judge questioned her.
Pursuant to the jury's verdict of guilt, that this would be a dangerous offense because a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument was used.
I'm stipulating to it.
You agree that that's what that this is a dangerous offense?
Correct.
And you're further stipulating that as a result of your conduct, at least the victim or the victim's family suffered emotional or financial harm?
Absolutely.
Vallow Daybell is also accused of the attempted murder of her ex-nephew-in-law, Brandon Boudreau. That trial is expected to begin in June. She has agreed for sentencing in this case to be put off until after that next trial is finished. After today's verdict, relatives of Charles Vallow said they are grateful the case is over.
It was a relief, a long journey, and I'm just glad it's over with. I really am.
Vallow was previously convicted in Idaho of killing her two youngest children as well as a romantic rival. She's already been sentenced to 3 life sentences in that case. And the other case we are following tonight revolves around the effort to exonerate convicted murderer Scott Peterson. His defense team says there is proof that he did not kill his pregnant wife in California back in 2002. KTVU's Henry Lee lays out the new evidence that Peterson's attorneys are bringing forward now in this case.
Convicted murderer Scott Peterson is making a new bid in hopes of proving his innocence in the killings of his pregnant wife Lacey and their unborn son Connor. In a proposed court filing with a state appeals court Friday, Peterson's attorneys with the LA Innocence Project provided new evidence they say was not presented at his trial.
Part of the evidence that's presented in this filing is really all about scientific research and advances in science.
John Sonego is chair of the board of the LA Innocence Project. He says a new analysis of tides in San Francisco Bay shows the bodies were most likely dumped from Albany Bulb, not the Berkeley Marina where Peterson says he had gone fishing.
That also indicated to us that the claims that the prosecution made about Mr. Peterson dumping the body couldn't be accurate.
Peterson had reported his wife missing around Christmas 2002. It was later learned Peterson had been having an affair. Lacey's body and that of Connor later washed up along the Richmond shoreline. The defense says his unborn son actually died days after he reported Lacey missing, and that Lacey not only was seen walking the dog after that, but actually interacted with burglars across the street from their home.
That's big. That's important. Because if Lacey lived after December 24th, clearly, Scott Peterson did not take her life.
KTVU legal analyst Michael Cardozo once did a mock cross-examination of Peterson. He says the defense now wants everyone not to fall victim to tunnel vision.
They, in the Innocence Project's opinion, they were doing a confirmation bias approach to this investigation.
The filing includes a declaration from Peterson himself in which he says he wants to clear his name. He wrote in part, "It is important to me that whoever killed my wife and son be found and held accountable. If whoever committed such violence against Lacey and Connor is still at large, they are a danger to public safety." Cardozo says ultimately Peterson wants a new trial.
Will it happen? In my opinion, no. But I've been surprised before by our appellate courts.
I've learned the defense has already hit another snag. The Stanislaus County DA's office says the defense filing has a technical issue and it has not been officially filed. Now, Peterson was originally given the death penalty, but the state Supreme Court overturned that because of a jury issue, and he was resentenced to life without parole. Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
We turn now to a story people continue to follow closely all around the world. Here is a live look at the Vatican tonight, where Pope Francis is lying in state. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning there, and a public viewing for the Pope is set to begin in a few hours at St. Peter's Basilica after the Pope's casket is moved from his living quarters. The coffin will lie in state for 3 days of public mourning, and tens of thousands of people are expected to pay their respects. The funeral of Pope Francis will be held Saturday in St. Peter's Square. It will be celebrated by the Dean of the College of Cardinals. After the funeral service, Francis will be buried at the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome. At his request, the last pope to be buried outside the Vatican was Leo XIII, who died in 1903.
Chose this because he's had a special devotion to the Virgin Mary. He would go back to that church and pray and leave flowers every time he came back from one of his trips abroad.
Cardinals met at the Vatican today to schedule the funeral and burial and plan the conclave that will choose the next pope. According to current norms, the conclave must begin between May 5th and May 10th. The head of the Environmental Protection Agency marked Earth Day with a trip to Southern California's coast. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin assessed the decades-long sewage crisis along the U.S.-Mexico border, saying his agency will present Mexico with a list of ways to resolve the problem. Over the years, officials say billions of gallons of raw sewage have poured from the Tijuana River into the Pacific Ocean, sickening swimmers and surfers, as well as Navy SEAL candidates who go into those waters. During Zeldin's visit, he said Mexico needs to do more to address this issue.
Mexico needs to fulfill its part in cleaning up the contamination that they caused, their people caused. They cannot view this as a U.S. problem just because their contamination reached U.S. soil.
The EPA recently denied requests to designate the Tijuana River Valley as a federal Superfund cleanup site, but Zeldin's visit attracted bipartisan support. Mexico says it's working on several wastewater treatment projects right now. Court documents show a Washington teenager is accused of attacking her parents with a knife on Easter over religious differences. The newly released court documents show the parents were attacked at a home in Vancouver, Washington. The father was stabbed in the stomach. The mother's throat was cut. Authorities have not given an update on their conditions. The teenager is accused of grabbing a kitchen knife and attacking her parents after her father told her Happy Resurrection Day. The 19-year-old is facing attempted murder charges. Now to Portland, where federal officials said today that cartels are exploiting children to distribute fentanyl and other drugs. The claim came during a joint news conference with local, state, and federal law enforcement to announce the results of their partnership to crack down on fentanyl. The DEA special agent in charge claimed that Honduran drug trafficking organizations are working with the Sinaloa cartel to flood the Pacific Northwest with fentanyl.
We've seen kids 14, 15 years old on numerous occasions trying to sell drugs to our undercover agents and confidential informants. They're being exploited by these cartel members. Oftentimes we've seen them carrying backpacks full of fentanyl because they have no place else to put it.
Officials said multiple law enforcement operations have resulted in 46 arrests and the seizure of 44 pounds of fentanyl powder and 20 firearms. The mission is aimed at interrupting open-air drug markets all across that region. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, there's new fallout over a heated confrontation caught on camera in Idaho.
Sheriff Norris, this gentleman is assaulting you. Out now. This man is assaulting me.
Coming up tonight, what's happening to the private security guards who forcibly removed a woman from this town hall meeting?
And a live look there over Las Vegas, where temperatures peaked in the upper 80s this afternoon. There is a gradual cool down coming. I'll have a look at what we can expect in the west for tomorrow coming up.
Also coming up tonight, it's a drama no one in Hollywood wants. Up next, Southern California's struggle to keep the business of TV and filmmaking here in the West.
Excuse me, Sheriff Norris, this gentleman is assaulting you. This man is assaulting
An update tonight on this tense confrontation during a town hall meeting in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho back in February. The private security guards who forcibly removed a woman from the audience have been charged with battery, false imprisonment, and security duty violations. The woman heckled speakers at the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee event. The 5 guards charged in this case work for Lear Asset Management. The company's license has been revoked by the city of Coeur d'Alene. The woman who was dragged out is a Democrat who unsuccessfully ran for a state legislative seat in 2024, and she does intend to sue county officials. Today, a judge extended an order that prevents the Trump administration from deporting anyone from Colorado under an 18th century wartime law. The Colorado judge cited a weekend order from the U.S. Supreme Court barring removal of migrants from North Texas. In that case, the ACLU argues the administration was preparing to deport Venezuelans without offering them legal notice. The freeze on deportations from Colorado will extend until May 6th at the least. Colorado leaders say the Trump administration is trying to interfere in the case of Tina Peters, a former county election clerk convicted of letting Trump supporters access election equipment after his 2020 defeat. Last month, the U.S. Justice Department submitted a court filing supporting Peters' bid to be released from prison while she appeals her case. That filing said Peters has been the victim of what prosecutors call abuses of the criminal justice system. Today, a judge heard arguments from both sides during a hearing, and according to the Huron Daily Tribune, the judge said that he would make a ruling after determining whether he even has the authority to decide this issue. Hollywood finds itself struggling to hold on to film and TV production as competition from other cities is creating a business slump. Fox's Max Gordon spoke with people in the industry about some of the challenges they're facing.
Much like how the departure of the auto industry from Detroit really hollowed out that city, some folks are concerned that the same thing could happen to Hollywood in the greater Los Angeles area. Right now, we're standing in an old theater, really a remarkable space. And this place has been the setting for many movies and TV shows, a popular filming location. But right now, nothing is filming here. Really, this follows a trend that we're seeing in the Los Angeles area, and we talked to the location agency that represents this theater about what they're seeing.
A lot of the smaller companies I know are unfortunately struggling to the point where they're having to call it a day in this industry, and especially for the people that work here. I've hired countless people over the years, and it's getting harder and harder for below-the-line crew to find work.
In 2021, a COVID year, first quarter shoot days were at 7,011. Last year, coming off the SAG-AFTRA strike, shoot days were at 6,823. And this year, that number is down to 5,295, a difference of over 22% from a year ago. While some of the decline is attributed to the Palisades and Eaton fires, Film LA says the loss of shoot days is primarily due to global production cutbacks and California's ongoing loss of work to other locations. Hollywood's lost productions not only to other states like Georgia and New York, but also to other countries like Canada and Ireland. Industry experts say California needs to cut regulations and increase incentives to lure productions back.
People feel like, well, why does Hollywood need handouts from the government? Like, they're rich. They're all a bunch of rich people. It's like, that's not true at all. You know, this is my backyard. I live in South LA. I've lived here for 21 years. And I'm worried about my next house payment, just like anybody else.
One potential lifeline is California Governor Gavin Newsom's proposal to expand the state's film and tax credit program to $750 million. But according to the nonpartisan Legislative Analyst's Office, while boosting the amount of money in the incentive program would somewhat increase the size of the motion picture industry in California, it would likely not result in economic benefits to the state as a whole. Meanwhile, some producers complain that it's simply too expensive to shoot here in California, but proponents of film in the Golden State say there's no substitute for the experience of the crews as well as the variety of locations. In Los Angeles, Max Gordon, Fox Business.
Well, it's hard to beat the weather. Giving you a live look here over Santa Monica this afternoon, 70 degrees and a little bit cooler for the days ahead. A San Francisco Bay Area also saw a drop in temperatures with a cooling trend getting underway this afternoon. And you can see the fog there over San Francisco, where San Francisco coming in at 61 this afternoon. Now let's move a little bit farther north into the Pacific Northwest, where Seattle dry today, but on the cool side at 60 degrees. On the flip side, we've got areas over Phoenix in the 90s this afternoon, 95. So a healthy taste of summer over areas of Phoenix this afternoon. And Phoenix still holding on to 89 degrees. Meanwhile, Las Vegas in the upper 80s this afternoon, now 84. You get into California, a cool 58 degrees right now in a brisk one, where we have the Giants playing at this hour. Into the north areas of the Pacific Northwest, Seattle even cooler at about 57. We are going to continue with the trough over the west in the coming days, and that will not only bring cooler weather, it could bring a little bit of unsettled weather at times. You can see the shades of green just kind of popping up. Into Thursday and Friday, a deeper trough expected to approach the coast, and that could bring scattered showers at least to areas of the Pacific Northwest and to the northern half of California, including the Bay Area. As we get into the extended forecast, starting in areas over the Pacific Northwest, beautiful weather coming for your area. Mostly sunny skies and temperatures in the upper 60s for tomorrow, low 70s on Thursday before we take a little bit of a dip into Friday. Meanwhile, the state of California and into parts of Nevada, temperatures are going to be dropping off. In fact, the San Francisco area will see additional cooling for tomorrow, increase in clouds, patchy drizzle out there as well. As we get into Friday night and Saturday, that's when the potential for spring showers will be in the forecast for the Bay Area. Meanwhile, over Southern California, going to remain cool here as well, with temperatures in the low 60s by Friday. Heading to the Intermountain West, thunderstorms in the forecast for areas over Denver Thursday into Friday. And Phoenix, well, you're going to remain quite toasty with temperatures in the low 90s under mostly sunny skies. Alex?
Yeah, still enjoying some warm conditions there in Arizona. Rosemary, thank you. A new drought emergency has officials in Washington on high alert. And as Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman reports tonight, they fear that drought conditions will become more common in the future.
This is the new normal. More rain, less snowpack, earlier springs, hotter, drier summers.
It's not a threat. It's happening right now as the Washington State Department of Ecology has issued an emergency drought declaration for the upper and lower Yakima and Natchez watersheds. Fox 13's meteorologist Abby Aconi has been keeping a close eye on our mountain snowpack.
If you kind of look at the green colors, the bottom part of the screen, the lower Yakima Basin is actually doing okay. They're at 99% of normal as of yesterday, but it's the upper Yakima Basin that's really struggling. They're super behind average. Right now they are at 73% of normal.
Simply put, water storage levels are low in the Bureau of Reclamation reservoirs. What are the main reasons for this drought declaration? According to the DOE's drought lead, Caroline Miller, those reservoirs feed the region's agricultural lifeblood. So far, things aren't looking good.
Reclamation announced earlier this month that folks with that type of water right would only receive 58% of their normal water allotment, and that is very alarming for irrigators.
This is detrimental to the area that produces $4.5 billion in goods. A hit to Yakima's irrigation systems is a hit to summer itself.
These types of irrigators, they work on hops, the hops we need for the beer we love to drink in the summer, as well as grapes and cherries and apples, major crops that people love and are a huge part of the economy, not just for Yakima, but for the state of Washington.
Farmers aren't the only ones scrambling. It's not just about dryness. We're also talking about our rivers and streams. If the levels are too low, water tends to warm up quicker, impacting salmon and other fish.
They do not like warm water or hot water. And so these lower flows in parts of the river that we're expecting to see potentially earlier in Yakima Basin watersheds, that could have impacts on fish later on this summer as well.
If it feels like we've been here before, it's because we have. Parts of Washington have declared drought emergencies 6 times over the last 10 years, something climate experts say was projected for 2050. Being watched closely, Whatcom, Skagit, Snohomish, King Pierce, Okanagan, and Chelan counties, who are all on drought advisory status. They don't meet the drought threshold yet, but that can change quickly.
Droughts are becoming more frequent, more complex, and more damaging.
And that was Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman reporting tonight. Declaring a drought unlocks relief funds for farmers. Experts warn, though, those funds are tied to federal partners such as NOAA, which right now are facing funding uncertainty under the Trump administration. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Rap, an unusual sculpture drawing some big crowds in Arizona. Tonight, who's behind this conversation piece in the middle of the desert?
Every time I drive by, there's probably 10 to 15 people stopped and just checking it out.
It's incongruent with the land. You're driving down, you see desert, and all of a sudden there's this giant robot in the middle of nowhere.
Hawaii's Kilauea volcano is erupting once again. Today, cameras captured images of lava shooting hundreds of feet into the air. There have been 18 eruptive episodes at this site since December. All of the eruption activity has been confined, though, to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. A Hawaii woman who caught dengue fever while traveling is now sharing her story. She says she became infected with the mosquito-borne virus while visiting family in the South Pacific. First, she suffered fever, fatigue, and muscle aches, and then her gums started to bleed, and she broke out in a rash. After reaching out to a doctor, she was hospitalized for several days.
Before I left the hospital, the doctor told me, you should be, I should celebrate that I survived dengue, because or not just dengue, I survived severe dengue, because it could have been fatal.
Doctors say there are 4 types of dengue virus. They're similar, but they vary enough to trick the immune system.
Body might think, oh, I've seen this before, and then kind of bring back certain antibodies that the body has developed to fight this dengue infection, but those are not matching the second infection. And so this is how you then develop what now is called severe dengue.
According to the CDC, dengue outbreaks in areas where the virus is common have increased the number of cases in travelers. Doctors expect that may result in small outbreaks here in the U.S. Finally, tonight, it's big, yellow, and drawing a whole lot of attention in one Arizona town. This 14-foot-tall bumblebee transformer statue suddenly appeared last week at an intersection in Cave Creek, just outside Phoenix. It's attracted unending lines of people looking to get a picture. The owner is Wayne Helfand of the Rare Earth Gallery. He says he brought the transformer all the way from Indonesia as part of a project to build an art walk on this corner.
What could I put in there that would be a nice entrance into the community, that would be something to talk about? It's incongruent with the land. You're driving down, you see desert, and all of a sudden there's this giant robot in the middle of nowhere.
Helfand says it took 5 workers and a crane truck to install that transformer, and it certainly does grab your attention. Pretty cool looking there at that intersection in Arizona. That does it for West Coast Rap tonight. We appreciate you watching, and a quick reminder, you can stay up to date on all the big stories we're covering across the West at westcoastrap.com, and you can stream our shows on your smart TV by downloading the free Fox Local app. Have a great night.